Last week we had the approval of the Ethereum ETF and things seem to be cooling down. Everybody's happy with the outcome. And after the spotlight, the tensions, the flow seems to be coming back into Bitcoin. In today's video, we're going to see the effects of that. If you like this type of videos, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell, and in order to support the channel, watch the full video until the end and leave a comment down below. Thanks so much for that. As you can see, we have our range on the daily. We struggled to get above the point of control, but thanks to the Ethereum ETF approval, that became really easy, but we hit the next level of resistance at 71.5. At that point, we were talking about coming back for a retest of the same level. We went slightly below it, but we have officially closed support. So in theory, things are looking good for a potential new push to test the highs. The structure is bullish. We have higher lows and higher highs so far, and we are on the bullish side of the range. Yes, we have had many rejections, but there is big motivation here for the price to come and take this liquidity. You can see that with the anticipation for the ETF, we were above the VWAP, and right after that, we started coming below it, and now we are retesting it as a resistance. But at the same time, we have reset the open interest with that move that took out some of the late longs. So that's also good for a potential new push to the upside. On Friday, there was a CME gap and it got filled straight away. CME closed at 69K and we are currently below it. So in theory, if over the weekend the price starts coming down, let's say it goes to 67, that will leave behind 2K of CME gap. So keep a close eye and mark your chart with 69.085, because in theory we should be targeting to fill that gap if we go lower. Of course, if the price starts shooting above 69, we might close down the weekend with a CME gap already gone. Looking at the momentum on the 4 hour of Bitcoin, you can see that we have on Friday around 2 p.m. a breakout that came after a double bottom around here. The double bottom is located around this area of volume, and we are coming back for the same resistance that sends us to these lows. So this is just another attempt for the 4 hour to make a breakout to higher levels. And considering that the momentum has already done it, we have a chance that eventually we should be seeing a breakout of this trend line on the price. And I think it's likely that we're going to challenge once again the 71.5 that has been so tough to beat. If we see a rejection as well on this trend line, we might come to the next level of liquidity that coincides with this pattern that is located at 66K. Of course, that wouldn't be necessarily very bullish. It's going to put a lot of people nervous because that will break below the point of control. So as long as that's a temporary thing intraday and then we close back up here, we will be again back in the bullish area of the chart. Being below the point of control on this lower side will mean precisely that we have broken from this bullish structure back into a bearish one on the daily. On the daily RSI, Bitcoin seems to be holding the white line support. It has also managed to hold the red. At some point, we were so oversold that we were testing the red, but we came back up and things seems ready for another shoot up. Of course, that can get invalidated depending on what's going on in this area here. Making a close below this red will mean that the whole party of breaking the highs is done and we could potentially build a channel to the downside from here. So that's why I keep this reminder with the 2 arrows, because either scenario can play out when we are testing a level of support. After the breakout of Ethereum, it's pretty interesting how many times it has tried to break below this. It's been testing this level, which is great. It's still holding there, and the momentum on the daily looks great, although we are about to have a bearish crossover on the cyclic RSI, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes during pumps, you cross down like this and then you attempt another time and you remain in the overbought area for longer. But that only means that Ethereum right now needs to prove and make a high here to prove that it can continue. In my opinion, right after the approval, people get extremely over bullish, and there's a few challenges that we need to overcome for continuation to the upside of Ethereum and for outperformance against the BTC pair. And that is that the Ethereum is still not available to the users, so that in an optimistic scenario, might become available in 2 weeks' time, but it could also take 1 or 2 months to become available to users. And not all ETFs are going to become available at the same time. And secondly, and more importantly, we should be monitoring the outflows from Grayscale. They hold a lot of Ethereum and users are going to be paying more fees to Grayscale. So that's going to be a motivation for them to withdraw, and that withdrawal process and migration of funds into the new spot could cause a similar turmoil than it did when we had the BTC ETF coming out. That even if people were buying a lot of spot BTC on the ETFs, Grayscale many days was outperforming those and causing the price to go lower. Still exciting news, and I think those pullbacks caused by that situation on Ethereum might become an opportunity. You can see that we are within this pattern on Ethereum on the daily. Since it's constricting, eventually I will expect the daily to come from this exponential move and retest this. I do not think that we are going to do a move like that. I will expect things to cool down, a breakdown of this momentum on the daily, and hopefully we find somewhere around the mid-range of the RSI some support for sideways move during that period of transition between the anticipation of the news and the effective implementation of the ETF going live and all the shakeoffs of Grayscale outflows. You can see that on the 4-hour, there has been already a breakdown on Ethereum in a specific shape here with this downward sloping resistance that is also poised for a breakout to the upside. So on the 4-hour, it's a little bit mixed. Possibly we are going to hit this line, get a rejection, and start coming down to play out in a way that matches the scenario we discussed on the daily as well. On the 4-hour, you can see as well we are at the top of this range. We are holding nicely above this new level of support. Tempted to say that we might eventually lose it. Notice that Ethereum has already taken this fair value gap. So if there was a fall like that, the new motivation might be around the 3200s. If we look at the Ethereum BTC pair on the 4-hour, you can see that we have lost the momentum. We broke down and we could be building this sort of head and shoulders here. There's still a leftover to fully complete the pattern, but I think Ethereum is going to have its run. But first, it needs to have a fake out to the downside, some sideways, just because the approval is not enough to push Ethereum higher. At least based on past performance on BTC approval, that was not enough. Let's look at the altcoins on the 4-hour. Even though it looks exciting to see a breakout here, something that Ethereum hasn't done yet, we have the double bottom, we have some hidden bullish divergences. At the same time, we have this line of resistance and we have lost the momentum to the downside. On the price, it's also a bit tricky because after this run, we lost the support and now we are retesting it as a resistance. So for going higher, the price will have to break out and come back inside the pattern once again. You can see that on the price, there's here support that could play as resistance right where we are. So if you play with the alts, be careful, use tight stop losses. We are against resistance. If we break above this resistance, of course, that will be great, but manage your risk accordingly. The dollar index closed down the week testing the support. The big question that has investors a little bit panicking here is that in this range, we are doing this kind of pattern. So if we were to do another test of the high at 107, that wouldn't be a bullish move for the rest of the market. Remember that whenever the dollar index goes higher, most of the different assets find difficult to run. But also, if we were to do that, we will be testing once again this resistance here. And we do not want to break above that to this area. This area, I remind you, belongs as part of the bear market. So ideally, the outcome we want to see in the coming weeks for the DXY is a breakdown in this area, and that could take it to the lows, and hopefully we see a breakdown below 100. That sounds like a dream. That will be a massive help to have an actual parabolic move on Bitcoin. In terms of large liquidity, The highest concentration of liquidity are at around 70.5, followed by 72, which we haven't reached yet. And below the price, we have a very well distributed amount of liquidity, larger than in the upside overall, but each individual cluster is lower than the two clusters that we have right above the price. On fire charts, we see that the largest concentration of liquidity comes from the asks that span all the way from almost 72 to 75. Below the price, we need to reduce the percentiles to be able to see it because it's so little compared to the upside. So if we set it to 99, we can see that the largest concentration right now is at 60K with 21 million, and then at 65 with around 18 million. The largest whales, once the ETF got approved, started pretty much selling, followed by the purple whales from 100K to 1 million that are currently buying. If we look at the order book, the most significant levels are as well asks here at 73.2 and at 72.8. There's nothing else above, and the order book below the price is extremely thin. In order to see anything, you have to slide this to almost the minimum to start seeing this level at 66, which is almost insignificant with 288. Guys, have a look at the copy trading bots. The link is in the description. And if you want to trade in a decent exchange, have a look at my link for OKX. There's a price pool of $60,000. And if you struggle to get access to perpetuals or get KYC, consider BinkX. They are very KYC friendly. You can get access to leverage across the globe and claim up to 6,000 in rewards. All links are in the description. You can see that the altcoin season index is right now a new low of 35 in this range here. Bitcoin dominance, it's still due for this breakdown on Sunday. We need to see if this reverts. For altcoin season, we need to see this candle to close below 54. My preferred path towards altcoin season to succeed is that Bitcoin should ideally print a new high in the upcoming 2 to 3 months, possibly to 80 or to 90, and then allow Ethereum in a couple of months, once the Ethereum ETF is settled and operating and inflows are outperforming outflows from Grayscale, then we should see a run of Ethereum. At that point, we should start seeing a breakout of the Ethereum BTC pair that currently is being rejected by the trend line here. So ideally, in the upcoming months, we see another retest of the white line, and eventually we see these two lines match each other on the way to the upside. At that point, many altcoins will have already run, but many will be also about to explode. And that is going to be called the altcoin season. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.